Welcome back to Dissect the Dialect. I'm your boy Tahuti Hermes Trismegistus, and last time we covered how K, L, M, N, and O are used to architect reality inside of the English alphabet. Quick recap through all the letters. A, your individuality, 1. B, you connecting with your individuality, 2. C, you externalizing that, communicating it, 3. D, that's the earth. That's the structure that gets made out of it. 4. 5 is E. That's energy. So everything in reality is energy, some cycling of all these elements plus a spirit. Okay, boom. And then that's F. So everything in reality is energy being forced out. So energy effing together. And then that's 6, of course, having sex. But with all this energy effing together, forcing itself out, then that's where we get G, because certain parts of energy want to separate from other parts of energy. So then that's where we get G, being the generation, the 7. So F is the sex of all this E, all this energy, all this phi, and then that's where G is a separation. Now we have the phi goes into an I. Now we have an individual spirit separating itself from all of the energy based on how it's generating what? Hate. So that's where G goes into H, into I. So H is the soul. H is the happiness. You have to hate where you are to create true happiness. Or like if you're not happy where you are, you hate it, and then you separate. So you generate a 7, levitate your 7 into heaven, get out of there. Boom, now you're happy. You have your own soul. You have your own home. That's your H. And then boom, you have your own I. So now you can develop your own individual perspective on the universe because you've separated from all the energy through the force of generating your own thing. So then that's where I turns into J. Now that you have your own soul and you have your own I and you can see your feeling, you can see the universe and connect it, how do you expand it? So J goes into K. You expand it through being kind or building kinship, being kindred with people. K, 11, shows one individual, you as an I, relating with another individual, this be the universe in this case. Boom, you make a vibe with the universe, and then that K allows you to L. And that L is the clock, our full communication, our full externalization of connecting and being able to communicate with something outside of ourselves through light, language, and love. All the L things. And through communicating all these L's, we then make the M, we get masculine. That's us actually making the L matter. In this language, that's money, money matters. In general, it's just about making how we communicate matter. But of course, the moment we decide what matters, guess what? Nothing matters. So that's where it's M, N. Spirit comes in to show us that we are all nothing. We're all family. We're all transforming together. That's why N is 15. And then that shows that we're all 1-0 and we are all having sex. And this whole point of us connecting our individual perspective to the universe was so we could be fulfilled and connect with others and actually be able to create something that doesn't mean anything. But once we know it doesn't mean anything, we're actually fully happy. And that's the O. When we know that money does not matter, when we know nothing matters, when we know N is M, we can be fulfilled. That's the O. And here we are with our O. Oh. So let's continue. P is 16, Q is 17, R is 18, S is 19, and T is 20. So when we know O is the orgasm, the feeling good about one's nothingness, then that's where we get P. P, being the 16th letter of the English alphabet, is 7, and thus all about separation. So now that your O is you having 6, you then create a P. Your P, or your penis, is just about you being really pointed and perfect with how you have sex. So this is what the relationship with O and P is. We feel good as a spirit with our O. As our 15, we have sex. And then we're constantly perfecting that. So P shows us that the point of life is perception and projection. This two-way street, the vibe. So our O is us alone. We're all having sex with ourselves alone. before we can have sex with others. And then that's where we go into P energy, that 9-dimensional project and perceive in order to create some sort of perfection on how we create. Then we can separate from ourselves. So this is why it's 6, 7. So what is the point of orgasming? What is the point of feeling good? How does a spirit use their P, their personal P-ness, to penetrate their O and give themselves orgasms so they can create something that is actually sustainable and happy just for themselves when they're alone? Virgo problems, right? These are the questions. This is the perfectionism stuff. So how does an individual achieve perfection? All of these questions, it's no wonder that O goes from P to Q. Q, being the 17th letter in the English alphabet, is all about asking questions forever, hence being 8, on repeat, infinite, constant questions on how to achieve perfection. So how does an individual achieve perfection? This is the question. And now we can see why O goes from P, a spirit feeling good, wants perfection, but now it's got to get to Q. O, P, Q. Q is the question on how a spirit attains perfection inside of its orgasmic organism. This is why Q is the 17th letter in the English alphabet. 1 plus 7 means 8, and questions are big 8 energy. Questions power our soul. The question of perfection. How do we achieve perfection in feeling good and filling out our orgasmic organism? So with Q being the 17th letter of the English alphabet, we can see that an individual is connecting with their idea of perfection. That's what 7 is, perfection, the thought. And this is what creates 8, infinite soul work. Because nothing is ever perfect, we're always creating new perfection based on our perception and projection. So this is why questions are everything. Questions power the soul to attain perfection in how it achieves orgasm forever. So this brings us to R, the 18th letter of the English alphabet. 18 showing an individual imagination connecting with an individual soul. And a soul is the space, the 8 is the infinite feeling that generates all life. So R being 18 shows that the white supremacist entities who made this language, they have an orgasm. And their P, their idea of perfecting their orgasm, is the Q leads to the R. So their idea of perfecting their orgasm means to R. It means to build railroads, double R, or rape and ravish the environment, to grape indigenous peoples forever. So R shows us that white people forcefully penetrate their P's into the O's of black people for infinity and beyond. And this is how they feel good. So white people only feel good when they're forcing indigenous peoples to learn their language and to learn their religion and to love the way they do. It literally is right here. This is why railroad is double R. When you literally look at trains and the way that they work in nature, it's just all rape. It's all about destroying what was there so that you can build something that just cuts through everything, and then you're only using it for yourself. It's not even serving the environment. It's only there to harm the environment. This is what R is all about. When an individual's going into your space, they're harming you, arming you. They're harming you with their arm. And it's all about forcefully penetrating black people's O's, indigenous people's O's, so that they will only focus on whoever is penetrating them instead of themselves. This is how white people gain power, spread their J across the world, and now we're all speaking English so we can be limited to what we're told to be limited to. So R stands for railroad, double R, or rape. A railroad is a rape against nature. If we want to be more positive with the word, we can say ravish. Regardless, it's about 18 energy. It's about an individual realizing that it can create a 9. It can become a 9-dimensional being by forcefully penetrating its P into other people's spaces. This is what the people who've made this language have done to even get us to this point. So this is why in English, R leads to S. The desire to rape or ravish or build railroads through the natural environment leads to having sex. 19 is sex. And in white society, sex is seen as sinful because subconsciously, of course, sex is sinful when your desire to have sex literally just means raping and building railroads inside of indigenous people's souls, inside of their spaces, inside of their feeling, inside of their lands, and colonizing and consuming their attention. Of course, sex is a sin when your relationship with sex is to force it on others and make them not be able to focus on themselves anymore. So this right here, spiritually, is why silence is pretty sexy. If an individual imagination, if that one can connect with its own aware spirit, the 9, then penetrate its own space with thoughts that make itself feel good. So it likes its own thoughts and it likes the feeling of it penetrating itself, then it will silently become a super sexy spirit. 4 S's to show just how serpentine this spirit's silver tongue is once it finally decides to speak from its internal space. This is why snakes are stealthy, silent, seductive, and sexy. The vibration of the s can be seen in how 1 + 9 = 2, vibe. This is where the vibe of S19 then transitions us into the vibe of T20. T stands for Taurus, or Tahuti, both, mainly Taurus. A Taurus, or a toroid in simulation terms, is a spirit who gains stability by fully connecting and having sex with itself instead of others. This is why the T20, the Tahuti Taurus, is a toroid, the basic shape of a simulation. T is for 2, is for time. T2 and time, 20, show us that time in general is dictated by how a spirit gains stability from connecting with themselves. So all time will ever be is us tracking how we move internally in relation with the external world. So T is for 2, is for time. This T20, this whole vibe, is all about how time is dictated by how a spirit connects with itself in order to silently have sex in a way that creates its organismic and orgasmic space, that it can then connect to the universe in a way that feels good. This is where true ST ability, true stability is born. Yeah, bro, honestly, I'm astounded. I'm having a lot of fun. This is a very fun mission for Mercury, just seeing how everything connects and communicates so we can correlate our spaces, and it all has to make sense. Some things don't make sense, but this certainly makes sense. So we'll continue next time in U, V, W, X, Y, and Z.